Yeah, boy, it's your man Killah B, goddamn Witchfinder General. You got a witch, I'll burn they motherfucking asses up. Goddamn it, back at your asses again. I'm back at your asses again. Make sure y'all hit that goddamn like, share, and subscribe button and wipe your goddamn feet before you come in my house. Because I don't want none of your goddamn bullshit. Let's go.
The key here is knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of order. There is no creation without order. The key here is knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of order. There is no creation without order. There's nothing you can do in the universe without order. It is a primary that man understands the order of nature.
Thinking to myself. Thinking to myself about life, about order. First I had a son, then I had a daughter. Always had hustle, but now I got a weapon. Once I let it up, I got a name and start repping. Names start ringing like bells in a movie. Boss saw me in action, came to recruit me. First I got the work, then I got the money. Now I got a bunch of people trying to get something from me, but they don't even know me. The new me or the old me. Once I got the bag, everybody turned for me. Always had women, but now the vibe different. Ain't about me, it's about how I'm living. How I'm living? Well, I'm living like you wish you could. I'm living like I wish you would. I'm living like I don't give a fuck. Inspired by the guys that can get their money up. That's when the hate came, then it came the case. That's where the money went, fighting with the state. It came with the evidence, statements from informants. Came with an offer, first one I didn't want it. Came with a second, took a different time. When I got released, had a different state of mind. Made some adjustments, had to make improvements. Had to sympathize with some people I was cool with.
All of nature is what man is to study and to master. See? I'm catching myself. I almost went back to something.
Switch lanes, but the outcome the same. Been getting money, I'ma keep getting money. I've been second guess, but I ain't never been second best. Thoroughbred pedigree, first thing show, handle business, get the bag. That's all I know. A lot of y'all sick haters need a transfusion. Too much hate in your blood, that's why you're losing. Earth full of poison, I'm working on the antidote. Hoping I can find it before the next funeral. When you got the shine, it comes with the jealousy. Then you hear the chatter like he think you better than me. Truthfully, if you knew what I was thinking, you wouldn't have time to be worried about mine. You'll be on your grind, getting the same sign. I'm not one in a million, I'm one out of the billions that exist. I'm really on some different shit.
Nature, God's nature, man's nature, or rather woman's nature, from which you come out of, and the
point blank, nature's laws are universal. The only real laws in this world. You have to follow them. And everything in nature is sequential. Just look at the step, process, one after another. Step by step. Learn the steps. Learn the steps. The useful music.
There's nothing you can do in the universe without order. It is a primary that man understands the order of nature.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back again. Back again. Yeah, boy. Sorry for this long awaited video, but I'm going to finish this up today for y'all. Once again, make sure y'all join the battle with your boy Killah B. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell so y'all can tune in when I first drop these videos. Make sure you hit that like and share button. Also, share with all your friends, people. Share with your friends. Oh, man. Let's go with current events and shit real quick. We got Judah Nazareth. We got nasty ass Judah Nazareth. Call himself joining the debate league again. Once again. But we all know I give him by Monday. I give him by Monday that he'll be making a video calling everybody over there gay and all types of foolishness. We all know how he do it. And everybody's Masons and all types of stuff. Any excuse for him to show his face, try to get a little bit of shine, and then run away from everybody because he can't compete with anybody's information. Why? It's not all there in the head. Everybody knows that. Oh yeah, also, Stoke. I want to give a shout out to Stoke. Stoke caffeine shots. That's the shit. Y'all niggas need to give me a sponsorship. Shit, I only got about 292 subscribers, but shit, that's 292 motherfuckers and shit. Go out and get y'all motherfucking product. Goddamn, cause this shit's the bomb, yo. Fuck a 5-hour energy drink. Fuck all that shit, espresso, all that bullshit. Fuck all that shit. All you need is Stoke. That's it. STOK. Y'all look that up. Make sure y'all get y'all some. Cause that shit is the bomb. I haven't tried the drinks with the shots. Shit, I be jacking these shits from the goddamn gas stations and shit all the time. And shit. Don't even be buying coffee and shit. Let me take a couple of these motherfuckers with me. Cause these motherfuckers is good, man. You take one of these shits, yo, you shaking like a leaf. Your ass, see, I can't even talk. You be off to the goddamn races and shit. This shit like drugs, like straight up. Straight up. This shit have your ass charged up, shaking, and all types of shit. God damn. Woo. Made my tea, so my voice won't get all dry and all that stuff while I'm reading. I threw in these Stokes in there. I had to take a little break. I was supposed to start this earlier. I was like, shit, I gotta wait for some of this shit. Wear the fuck down on my ass and shit so I can function. And I was gonna drive 2 of those motherfuckers in there. Yeah, what else we got going on and shit? Yeah, we got more fuckery and shit, of course. These damn Hebrew Israelites and stuff trying to push their little doctrines. I had some fool try to hit me up on Facebook today, dropping a video talking about how Israelites shouldn't wear purple because the Romans wore it. I'm like, nigga, like what the fuck? Kind of stupid ass shit. So we not supposed to wear purple because the Romans wore it? Like what kind of like crazy ass shit is that? Yeah, man, it's a lot of foolishness going on. Another thing I want to start doing some videos on too is these black scholars that we tend to gravitate towards as like the authority on our whole belief systems and on history and stuff. I've been doing some research and stuff, and about when you do research, you should also check out the authors of the writings. What time period the books are written in, what was going on at the time, and stuff. And you will learn a lot, sometimes a lot more about what you're reading just by looking into the author and what the world of where he was at that time. You know, you got like scholars like Chancellor Williams and stuff that wrote books. He was also a novelist, I heard, before he put out a lot of that great book. Was it? I lost track of the name of the book. Western Destruction of Western Civilization. Wait. Damn, I can't believe it. The Stokes shit got me all fucked up. Destruction of a Black Civilization. That was it. Among others. At that time, black people were really looking for identity. You know, just coming out of like civil rights. You got the Black Power movement, you know, Black Panthers and all that stuff. I'm going to do a video on the Black Panthers. I'm going to bust our heads open on a lot of stuff they was into, what really brung them down, and what was going on with them and stuff. You guys are going to be surprised. People were looking for identity. And just how the Hebrew Israelites today are gaining such momentum, it's the information that they're presenting. Sometimes the information is true, but the way that they present it to you is what brings you in and what is false and off. And it's a lot of exaggeration. You get, for example, I put up a post in one of the groups in Facebook a few days ago. He was talking about the Sphinx, you know, with the nose broken off. Most of you have heard the story about the Sphinx and how the nose like came off of the Sphinx. They say that Napoleon broke the nose off the Sphinx. And these black scholars will tell you that he didn't like black people. So the Sphinx looked like a black person, so he blew the nose, took a cannonball and blew the nose off him, right? But when you get down to the evidence, it didn't happen. There's two accounts of artists making a sketch long before Napoleon came around with the Sphinx with the nose off. Also, there's a claim that there was a Muslim Sufi. I guess he was ruling that land at the time, and he was jealous of the common citizens of that land. They wanted to bring offerings to the Sphinx to help have a good crop for the year. You know, the Nile and all this stuff. So, like, they would make these offerings, burn offerings to the Sphinx, and hope that the Sphinx will grant their wishes for them to have a productive crop for the year. And this Sufi Muslim was, or ruler, whatever you call him, had, you know, he didn't like it because I guess he felt that they should be worshiping him and counting on him for their well-being. So how the story goes is that he had the nose broken off. And it wasn't because the Sphinx looked black. Now, you go into ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and you will see a lot of statues with arms broken off, with the noses broken off, ears, mouths broken off, private parts and stuff like that broken off. And the reason for this was not because, you know, the Hebrew Israelites used to tell me also back in the day that Constantine was a black man and all this stuff, like, you know what I mean? Which they still do, these icons and stuff in Europe, saying, oh, these are really black Negroes and stuff. It's all BS. Right? And the nose was broken off the Sphinx. Check, when you bring these offerings to these idols for help. Now, even the Bible tells you that God at the temple, where they would make the sacrifices, and that the aroma, the smell, the smoke would please him. This is the same thing that goes on with these other idols, of these other faiths, religions, whatever you want to call it, deities and all this stuff. So, the purpose of breaking the noses off of these idols was to deactivate the power of these idols or these gods. So if you broke the nose off of the Sphinx, that means that the Sphinx could no longer smell your sacrifices. So with that in mind, you would not get your wish granted. If you broke the arms off of a deity that was known for war, to help you in war and battle, that means the deity can no longer fight for you. If you break off the ears of the idols, of the deities, that means the idols and the deities can no longer hear your cries and your concerns. Right? So, yeah, I did a post on that showing that, and we have to reevaluate a lot of these scholars. I'm not trying to discredit the scholars' work. What I am doing is, like, these people sell books. So, and Destruction of a Black Civilization is an awesome book. You read that book, you will hold on. There's people that brought numerous copies of the book because they like the book so much. You will read it and you will fall in love with the book. And a lot of it, the stuff that make you fall in love with it, is the way that it is written. You can take a textbook with the same information in it, but it might not grab you the same way as a really good author presenting you their information. So if you put out a book with the facts, archaeology, and all that stuff, but then you add on all the extras to drag you in, you know what I mean? To get you so hyped up on the information. Like, people would take that book and run all over town with it. Have you read this book? See, we was gods of the earth. See, we was running everything. The white man wasn't doing nothing. It was all us. We did this. We was the Jews. We was the Hebrew Israelites. We was the people on the walls of Kemet. We was the Nubians. We was the Canaanites. We was the Eskimos. We was the South Americans. We was the Native Americans. You know what I mean? And this stuff is what, you know what I mean, get you hyped up, because you've been taught all your life that you're at the bottom, right? So, yeah. So I might be doing a video on that soon. So, with that in mind, let's get into today's video reading. I want to do a lot more readings for you guys. It's kind of rough. I hate reading out loud and stuff. My voice gets all worse and stuff. But I'm doing it for you guys. So, because I got to get this information out. Some of the information I might not always subscribe to. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I might not know a lot about. But I'm bringing you the information. And I'm trying to bring you the facts about the information. With a little bit of commentary and stuff like that. But what I personally think about some of the things. But with that, this is going to be our part 3 to this video. I wanted to change that image. Forgot to change it. Yeah, with that, we can get right into this thing here. Today's is going to be our part 3 of your ancestors, nganga and Palo Mayombe. This is the final one, the making of the nganga. Make sure you guys go check out part 1 and 2. So, that in mind, let's get into this video. Alright. Killah be the Witchfinder General. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure y'all hit that button. Wipe the goddamn feet. You come to my house with that bullshit. Alright, let's go. This is the third part, and here. So many damn boxes on my screen. Okay. Where are we at? Where is it? Here we go. Alright, the upper level of the nganga. Previously, we went over the foundation. We went a little bit over like how the pot gets constructed, and we went over the bottom level of the pot, the middle, and now we're going to deal with the upper level, and we're going to get to the conclusion and stuff and head on out of here and stuff. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Also don't want to be reading all day. All right. Shout out to you guys out there. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go. The upper level, the nganga agency, right? What we call the upper level is the visible part of the nganga. Some of you that just checking out this video and don't know what a nganga is, make sure you guys check out the previous video. And just real quick, this thing right here, this is a nganga. It's a cauldron or a pot filled with different elements and stuff to create a universe or a home for a particular spirit or ancestor, right? Okay. Let's get back to it. All right. What we call the upper level is the visible part of the nganga. And since it is on public display, it reveals the information its creator wished to transmit. The object can convey various messages to the viewer, such as fighting spirit and strength, which are revealed in particular by all the iron items. For Sarabanda Nganga, the deity of metals and war, these are very numerous, 21 horseshoes that are placed around the perimeter of the cauldron, 7 large nails that are fixed between the sticks. 21 small nails and 2 knives that are pushed vertically into the cauldron, and a pair of handcuffs laid on the surface. Finally, a heavy padlock chain with the same length as the height of the owner of the nganga surround the cauldron. Even the wood elements present in this type of nganga, such as the 7 hooks, poleros fitted in between the horseshoes, with the points ends facing outward, testify to the danger confronting anyone approaching the artifact. Some practitioners try to temper the violence that emerges from their nganga by adding a crucifix. This then indicates that the polero is dedicated to the exclusive service of God and of good. The followers of this branch of Palo Mayombe, the poleros, this is another form of Palo Mayombe. It's called Palo Mayombe. The poleros cristianos refuse the accusations of black magic linked to the practice of their religion. To prove their devotion to good, these poleros therefore increase borrowing from a reference to the Catholic religion, such as the use of holy water, a Christian iconography in liturgy, or a reference to Jesus in songs. At the opposite extreme of the Christian poleros, there are the Jewish poleros, who specialize in evil works of magic. In this case, the Jewishness of the nganga has no ritual link with the Jewish religion. It is simply served to define the opposite or dark pole of the Christian-like practice, and no doubt reflect the results of missionary evangelism. For these poleros, the use of Christian symbols is counterproductive and opposed to the principles of Palo Mayombe. A crucifix stuck in the nganga will only result to scare the dark dead man and prevent him from working. A small precision is necessary. I have never met any polero who used their nganga just for evil purposes. This would unnecessarily deprive them of the beneficial effects of the cauldron. It would be in total contradiction with the pragmatism. Also, many poleros who call themselves Christian don't hesitate to perform love magic, the purpose of which is to force a person to fall in love with another. They also don't hesitate to save their loved ones through works of magic, such as the Cambio de Vida. If anybody speaks Spanish in the chat, let us know what that is. It says what it is. Literally life-changing, which means transferring the vital energy of a healthy person to a sick or dying. In other words, magically killing the former in order to save the latter. The indigenous categories of Christian and Jew are mainly used to claim a particular religious status. Those who declare themselves Christians actually state their moral posture by showing sympathy for Christian values. According to similar yet converse logic, those who claim that they have a Jewish nganga, because the nganga also inherits the Jewishness or Christianity of its owner reinforce their status as witches, as dangerous beings capable of everything, and who are therefore powerful. These categories must therefore be apprehended as categories of identity. In reality, the majority of Paleros do both evil and beneficial works, according to the Paleros themselves. In the upper compartment of the nganga, the two mapakas, its eyes, I went over before. The mapaka is usually like a horn that's filled with powders, which are ground up herbs, tree barks, or whatever elements, animal bones that are ground up, teeth, whatever, that are put inside this thing. And there's a mirror on the bottom part of the horn, which is used for divination. You guys can look that up. It's Mapaka. Mpakas. His eyes are in Kikango the Vititi Mensu. Figure prominently, these are two ox horns which are filled with the same ingredients as the nganga, and the end of which are sealed with pieces of mirror. The Paleros use them as magical binoculars. He puts his eyes on the mirror side to make predictions, as if he were looking through a Mufumbi's eyes. But the Mapaka can also replace the nganga should the Palero have to perform trabajo, which is work, far from his sanctuary, in a hospital or in a prison, for example. The Mapakas are massive and usually impressive, thus reproducing and carrying the expressive force of the nganga. They are easily recognized as a purely Palo Mayombe element. The horn is a primitive element associated with the idea of wild Africa, full of sorcery and natural forces. The upper part of nganga is also the place that gives the strongest indication of its affiliation to the living world. And surface is constantly oozing, denoting its volatility, as moisture is characteristic of the living. This humidity is maintained by the liquids the nganga drinks, such as rum, honey, white wine, sacrificial blood, or by the loss of matter during the decomposition of the sacrificed animal. The effect is amplified by the emanation of a nauseating smell that follows each glass of liquid. When we blow rum on the nganga, it is the smell of the blood that spurts out, said one Palero. Right? So basically they keep this pot moist, I guess, to give it life. This is how we are, like, moist beings. Like, you cut us open in this liquid, like, you know what I mean? You cut your hand, liquid comes out, like, peel your skin back, it's going to be moist. It's not going to be dry like a bone. So I guess it's like a symbolism of something that's living. And with these, like, sometimes you will have birds or something like that decomposing within the nganga. And those fluids from that bird or whatever animal or whatever would seep into this pot. Let's move on. History to materiality, the nganga as organic archive. The upper level of the nganga is also the historical one. Unlike other two levels, which are invariable, this part can change its volume. Its volume increases according to the elements that the Palero put in during rituals and works of magic. In a way, this part of the cauldron serves as a register for the community because it systematically includes traces of all members of the initiatory group and the memory of all rites, initiation of Nganga's birthdays, and making of new Ngangas. The the magical operations carried out within the religious family. The nganga is a container that encloses the identity of each member of the initiatory group because they all shed their own blood during their initiation. This gesture that practitioners call making a pact with the dead man is an extreme mark of fraternalization and aims to establish intimacy and organic relationship between the practitioners and the mufumbi of the culture. During the initiation ritual, the neophyte is scarified in different parts of his body: chest, hands, feet, shoulder blade, forehead, tongue. The blood escaping from his or her wounds is wiped with pieces of cotton, which are put on the surface of the object. This has profound implications that go beyond the mere symbolic account of a union between the living and the dead. Poleros say that the smell of their blood is a constant reminder of these existence of the Mufumbi. The scents of the spirit are henceforth marked by an indelible trace of Poleros' identity, so that it can locate him anytime and anywhere. But this marking is double-edged. The worshipper has his Nganga's constant protection, but if he fails in his ritual obligations, he can hardly hope to escape his Mufumbi's anger. One of my Poleros interlocutors, person who takes part in dialogue or conversation. Okay. Stated, he who betrays a cauldron dies. To take the comparison between the nganga and a civilian state register even further, I am tempted to say that this object is a kind of a birth certificate for the Polero. During his or her initiation, the nganga receives his blood, a key marker in identity, as well as the blood of all members of the group, who acts as witnesses to the new Polero's ritual growth. While the initiator's knife records the neophyte's entry into the world of Palo Mayombe with a permanent scar, the nganga embodies most legitimate place for preserving the identity of those who choose to join Palo Mayombe, precisely because it lies between the world of the living and the world of the dead. This compartment of the nganga also brings to light the group's recent history. A glance at its surface offers an account of the religious activity of the community formed around the object. Among the traces that can be identified, there are organic ritual remnants, the blood and the parts of sacrificed animals, feathers, legs, testicles, and heads that are left there to rot and dry out after a period defined by divination, which can vary from 14 to 40 days. The most voluminous parts, such as goat heads, are removed, but organic materials remain in the nganga until they have completely decomposed. The effects of these offerings have on the volume and shape of the nganga vary substantially from the sanctuary to sanctuary, depending on the tradition of the religious family or the taste of its owners. In some Corotos, fundamentals, sanctuaries, the mass of offerings is such that as time goes by, the nganga's volume increases considerably. This was the case, for example, for Geraldo, whose gigantic nganga occupied almost the entire room. This Polero was used to letting whole animals rot in the cauldron. Damn, this Polero was used to letting whole animals rot in the cauldron. Damn. In other groups, the offerings are more modest, and organic matter decomposes almost entirely, so the volume of the nganga does not change significantly. But even in those cases, its appearance changes. Some feathers, a skull, or a dry lizard, for example, will come to enrich the surface of the cauldron year in, year out. And in some cases, the morphological changes that the cauldron undergoes reflects the group's trajectory, offering an account of its longevity, of how successful this is, or whether it has been abandoned over time. Vision is not the only sense through which observers can access the object's history. Smell is also a value indicator. Stimulated by its exhalations of blood, rum, food offerings, and other beverages and liquids, it can provide information about the activity of the initiatory group. For Poleros, access to the group's older history can also be sensed through the object's weight. As the old Polero from Sinfugos said, it is impossible to lift the old nganga due to all the blood and sacrifices it contains. There is another category of visible objects that mount up at the surface or at the foot of the cauldron. Small anthropomorphic dolls made of cloth or plastic, and all sorts of packages made of paper, cardboard, little bags made of animal skin, coconut filled with various substances. These are preparations for work of magic, whether for healing or vengeance and retribution. They are prepared by the owner of the nganga to ensure the well-being of the client. A relative or an initiate, unlike ritual remains, these objects do not indicate a past event, but an action in progress. They lay on the nganga for a while, until the expected effects occurs. Their abundance is a good indicator of the reputation of the owner of the nganga, possibly of his prosperity, if he is paid for his works. To do these works, trabajos, the Polero makes small packages or anything that can be used as a container, fills them with various substances, pulverized tree sticks, hair, insects, honey, names written on paper, etc., and puts them at the top of the cauldron so that the Mufumbi can familiarize with their content and inform about its task. Unlike the remnants of ritual activity, nobler by definition, these packages are made of airtight materials, cardboard, paper, plastic, and do not mix with or soak up the nganga's other constituents, as ritual remains do. These salines is a constant reminder of the object's magic power. They are tangible proof of the owner's exploits, which are gratifying for him and for his initiatives. But they are also another form of testimony to the Naganga's vitality. All these packages contain the names and often the personal origins of clients or of their targets, such as clothes imbued with sweat or fingernails show that this motionless object is the seat of important activity. It can smell, recognize, read, and understand, therefore it is alive. Finally, the group's history is inscribed vertically in the materiality of the nganga. The elements added after every ritual form overlapping layers such that are starting from the bottom layer and working upwards towards the surface. The whole calendar of events that took place within the group can be identified. The size of the nganga is proportional to the acts performed by the group, and its shape depends closely on real element. Damn, jacked up again. It's damn stoked, boy. Get you going. Its shape depends closely on real events. In this sense, the nganga is a kind of organic archive that carefully records the group's history, and it is also the mirror of magical and religious activity. It is a collective body in continual growth, in that in which it shapes, evolves, and reflects the dynamics of the group. For members of the religious community, the nganga is thus a visible identity marker that is permanently being updated. This recalls Michael Colquitt's analysis of the Didiro ritual objects of the Baba, which are composed of an interchanging part, which the author calls a core, and of a changing part referred to as an envelope. The act of envelopment appears as a sign, among other possible signs, of the act of enunciation by the blacksmith group that recognizes itself as an I. In actual fact, a we, which is an I expanded, to use Benventilist terms. The subject of the enunciation, the clan group, splits in two. By the enveloping act, it asserts itself both as an autonomous individual subject with its own identity, revealed by the core, which is a synthetic image, which is a synthetic image of its own particular history, and as a subject belonging to a larger group, the whole community. Okay, material kinship. Like all living beings, the ngangas are brought into the world. And like living beings, they can have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, who together form a ritual lineage. The Rama, the nganga, like any other person, lives with a family, lives in society, and also has a biography. As we have already seen, the nganga's birth certificate is signed the instant its future owner sheds his blood. On what was until then just an assembly of scattered forces without order and without life. If the Polero later becomes deeply committed to Palo Mayombe practice, the gatherers of the community of believers around him, the first blood that he sheds into the culture will mark the initial event of the constitution of the initiative group. In Palo Mayombe, it is therefore not a myth that marks the origin of the group, but rather a non-narrative historical event of a material or tangible nature. And it is extremely significant that the most important event of the Polero ritual calendar is the Complemento, the annual ceremony honoring the Ngangas, which usually takes place on the anniversary of their birth. When the Nganga's first owner dies, the religious community does not vanish with him, giving that the nganga is virtually immortal and can choose a new owner. However, should the nganga disappear with him, then this is the case. It usually chose to continue its life at the bottom of the sea, in a hole beneath a forest tree, or in the darkness of a river. It will have previously given birth to another nganga, who will ensure the continuality of the community. It's not. Okay. The unity of lineage is based on the material kinship of each member of the mother nganga. The first nganga, which gave birth to all the others, is called the trunk. For it to have any value, it must have been created by an African, and specifically by a Congo. The ancient kingdom of Congo is considered by Poleros to be the place of origin of Palo Mayombe. Its holy land is, as it were, the land of all mysteries, and the true religion, as they say. Nature and spirits are more powerful there. In order to inherit this power and to assert their group's legitimacy, Cubans must firmly establish their nganga's trunk link with Africa. The culture's kinship with Africa is transmitted into all members of the group, who are considered its sons. At a foundation of the original nganga, subsequent lineage, there is a particular material element that differentiates it from other Ngangas. As we saw earlier, George's Nganga belonged to a Rama with the Mayombe, the Cuban vulture, particularly revered by Paleros, as its emblem. Part of this bird, or something symbolizing it, must be incorporated into the Nganga of George's initiates. Just like the Nganga of his initiator, his initiator's initiator, and so forth. Here, this, here, hereditary material represents ritual kinship and more specifically ritual ascendance. Final remarks. Retracing the Nganga's materiality has revealed the logic underpinning God's making in Palo Mayombe practice, beginning with its practitioner's desire to create a unique being. This desire becomes the rule of conduct for making in Nganga, and is expressed in a very special way, in which the various components are combined into the cauldron, but also in a way they are chosen and collected. All elements included in the Nganga are special in some way, whether it is due to their appearance, their exceptional status, or the singular story of how they were discovered. Unpacking the Nganga making process also showed that, despite its messy appearance, this artifact is based on a careful, established structure. Every element that inserted into this God object denotes power, but these elements are not merely inserted according to the principle of accumulation. The synergy of all the different elements inherent powers is directed in a centripetal, whatever it means. Adobe. Okay, don't tell me. Maybe my computer dictionary don't even know. Matter has served one goal alone, maximizing the Mufumbi's power. The Mufumbi endows the Nganga with humanity, and particularly with the face that Paleros can use to represent the divine being with which they interact daily. The risk they take to exhume the dead man's remains and the care that they take in tracing the biography of the Mufumbi enhance the Nganga's personification and make communication easier. The Palero finds a common ground with the human-like God in order to converse with him. But while the human element is preserved inside, there is nothing in Nganga's morphology that reminds us of a person. In order to amaze and enchant, the Palero's God has taken his distance from all things human, and indeed from all known beings, by adopting hybrid forms encompassing man's spirit, object, animal, and plant. The Nganga does not merely transcend different ontological categories. It also blurs common oppositions, for example, between living and dead, material and immaterial, sacred and profane. It is a living being, but It is a living being, but its main component is a dead man. It overflows with materiality, but its body represents an invisible being. Its word is infallible, but its personality is drawn from the history of an ordinary person. As a chimerical and unclassifiable being, The nganga seems to draw its effectiveness and power from cognitive disturbances that it arouses. It will be easy to continue enumerating the countless contradictions of this God object, but let us rather emphasize one of the most remarkable among them. On one hand, the Naganga's physical appearance causes both fright and enchantment. Aesthetically, it creates an impression of transgression, violence, and mystery all at once. On the other hand, having the personality of an ordinary human, it generates affectionate, friendly, and profane feelings. Focusing on the materiality of the Nganga has revealed the different stages leading to the creation of a god. However, this article has only outlined the initial conditions of this process. The story of the Nganga making does not stop here. Immediately after its creation, it is still nothing but an instrument in the Palero's hands. To become divine, the Nganga has to acquire a history. It is only with time that it will become sacred. With all the victories it will win, all the wisdom it will lavish on a Palero, and all the enemies it will defeat. The sacralization of the Nganga is a lifelong work in progress. And this sits well with the Palero's pragmatism and skepticism. Paleros are not content with holding abstract beliefs, but instead constantly put men and gods to the test. We have to see to believe. They say, follow in the footsteps of doubting St. Thomas. This was written by Katrina Kurzetsy, CNRS Laboratories. That's in French. I guess that's Laboratories of Anthropology Society. I believe that means. So that concludes that. And thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Killah B, the goddamn Witchfinder General. You got a witch, I'll burn their goddamn asses up. Any of you got some cult leaders and shit you want me to jump on, just send me the links and stuff. I'll get on their asses ASAP. Yes, people. The study. This is nothing but your history. For all the people that lead Hebrew Israelite churches, and, like, you know what I mean? All types of stuff, people into criminology and all types of stuff. This is another part of African history that is little talked about in the United States. With that, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thanks to Stoke for keeping me going. Thank y'all for tuning in. And I'm gonna head on out of here with peace to all the people that have supported me throughout these going on a year now. So thanks to all you guys that have been keeping it real with me. They're very supportive and stuff like that. And the hell to everybody else. They ain't been supportive. They hate what I'm doing. So with that in mind, I'm out of here. Killah B, the goddamn Witchfinder. Like, share, subscribe.